Like damn, she in her mood. Like damn, she in her mood.
When I'm ready, I get in that mood. When I'm ready, I get in that mood. When I'm ready, I get in that mood.
Ice Spice, she of course is a rising star. She's just kind of went wild on social media since 2022, and she had a song video, Munch Feeling You, that went just super viral. Since then, we now have in Ha Mood, and I just so can't say that as cool as she does, but she's now been sued, and not just her, but a couple of parties on her side, including, of course, Capitol, the label that she signed with, Universal, which is Capitol's a subsidiary of Universal. And so as a music attorney, I do lawsuits, I do copyright things all the time. And so I wanted to walk you through how this works, what's going on specific to this lawsuit, but also how to kind of keep this stuff in mind if you happen to be in this kind of situation in the future. So according to the lawsuit, which we got this information from TMZ, so it's Brooklyn artist D Chambers, and he's claiming that Ice Spice just stole his work and that he had actually released his song about a year prior. And so he's going, there's like proximity issues, there's access issues, which all come up with copyright cases. And so, basically we have to be like, well, if you're saying that she stole your song, you have to prove that like you released your music. There was a chance that she may have heard it or her producer heard it, more than likely. According to the lawsuit, D Chambers, so the artist, insists that he recorded his song in that mood. So we have artist in that mood, and then we have Ice Spice in Ha Mood. So D Chambers, he, I guess he did do some collaborations with Wu-Tang Clan's Method Man. He's alleging that Ice Spice's producer likely caught wind of his tune on the airwaves, and then
his dad is
created their own
DJ.
version.
His dad is DJ Enough, who is on Hot 97. He's like a huge DJ on Hot 97. He had a significant airplay as well of the song.
So the lawsuit, which we're gonna go through, okay. So for you lawyer nerds out there like me, you'll like this, and it's actually a pretty interesting complaint. But the lawsuit accuses Ice Spice's In Ha Mood of shamelessly copying everything from like the the beats, the lyrics, the hook, the rhythm, right? Even like the BPM they talk about, narrative context, and all from D Chambers' original track. And so to prove his claim, he's also citing numerous performances, which were near Ice Spice. So then we have like a proximity thing, and close to her producer Riot. When we're kind of talking about the access issues, we go back to, well, In Ha Mood is now at, what is it, 168 million Spotify streams, 45 million YouTube videos, views. And yeah, so, her song definitely has been seen by many. His are a lot fewer, but again, I don't want to knock anyone or make judgments on anyone. So, let's take it from both perspectives, because we don't know what happened here. And this does happen as an entertainment attorney. I'm telling you, someone will hear a great idea from a small artist, a small no-name artist, and they will steal it because they're like, who's ever going to hear your song? And it actually was a really smart hook. It actually was a really good hook. We've even been in sessions with producers who are just like blatantly citing. Yeah. Let's do that.
I won't name any names, but like some high profile producers that were literally like, oh, what's that Lionel Richie song? How's it go? What if we just did? And it was like, it's just like straight up, just go. It was crazy. It was crazy just to see how just blatant it is. But I guess when you're at that kind of a level, you figure, or they're figuring, well, if there's anything that's the label's problem to take care of, or that's whatever, I'm just being creative or not.
Ha Music Attorney is your #1 legal resource for artists, producers, and record labels. Get contract templates, one-on-one legal advice, free master classes, and everything you need for your music business. Go to TopMusicAttorney.com. You never know. If someone's maybe like an ambulance chaser, so just meaning they're like, yeah, we have similar names in our titles, because we've covered cases like that before, where someone's like, oh, Mariah Carey had a Christmas song and it was generally about Christmas, and they're like, I had a Christmas song and it was generally about Christmas, and you're like, what, dude? What?
Yeah.
But in this case, let's go through it. So let me show you. This is the complaint. All right. So at the top of any complaint, it says what court it's in. So this is the United States District Court, which means it's in federal court. Eastern District of New York. So we're in federal court in New York, and then the plaintiffs are defined up here. So we have the artist D Chambers, and then and Ken Lee Carment, aka Cass the producer. So collectively, plaintiffs and then suing defendants. And so we have a couple people named here. We have Ice Spice, and then was it Isis Naya
Yeah.
Gaston? We have the
Riot.
producer Riot. We have Capitol Records. We have Capitol Music Group, which is a DBA. We have 10,000 Projects LLC, and then of course UMG Records or Recordings, I should say, which is Universal. So in this kind of introductory language, so it goes plaintiff, and then it just renames everyone. So all the all plaintiffs cite here are suing all these defendants. So the preliminary statement, this is the general synopsis of what's going on. And I actually thought this was pretty concise. So they go, Ice Spice is an upcoming American rap artist, popularity has grown over the last 20 months. She first gained widespread recognition after her song Munch Feeling You, produced by Riot, released in August of 2022, and it went viral. Then Ice Spice has become world famous, and so she's done collabs with like insane names. That's not what they say in my words. So on Princess Diana with Nicki Minaj,
She did
Karma
the
with
Barbie
Taylor Swift,
song.
Barbie World. I mean, like those are huge collaborations. Like wow. So the first song published by Ice Spice in 2023 was In Ha Mood, produced by Riot and officially released on January 6, 2023. In Ha Mood peaked at number 58 on Billboard's US Top 100 chart. It also reached number 192 on Billboard's global chart. So what they're doing here, guys, is that they're laying out the impact of this song, because at the end of the day, and we're gonna get to this, when you have someone who has stolen your song, then we go to copyright infringement, then we go to damages. And if you have a song that actually did make a lot of money, that's really good for you as the claimant potentially, because there's two types of damages that you can get. And they actually seek both in this complaint, which I'll explain to you why it matters, because this goes back to when you register your copyright here in the United States. Oh my gosh, does it make a difference? So if you're sitting on your songs that have come out and you didn't register your music, yikes. And I'm going to explain why you need to go and do this like right away. But anyway, they're building the case right now for like the popularity of the song, of which, they're basically just saying we need to be paid from them, the earnings. By all accounts, In Ha Mood has been a commercial success, becoming certified as a gold record, which is 500,000 certified units sales by the Recording Industry Association of America, or RIAA, within 4 months of its release. The official music video is popping on YouTube. My words, not theirs. 45 million views and some change. It's just doing real good. However, by every method, In Ha Mood is a forgery, copied from plaintiffs who wrote, performed, recorded, and produced their original song In That Mood, also referred to herein as the work. Okay, so guys, when you read letters and documents and things from attorneys, and in this case a complaint, what we do is we define words so that every time afterwards, when we refer to that thing, we just say the defined word. So in this case, it's work. And so we don't have to keep saying
the whole thing all the time.
Yeah, in Ha Mood, or in this case, in that mood. Okay. And then it looks like he does anyway, which is pretty. So he's
very thorough.
He defeated the whole point. Anyway, by comparison, In Ha Mood which was copied, they allege, principally from In That Mood. Here are some of the things. They think the hip hop, rap genre, and drill style was copied. There were similar titles and hooks and chorus lyrics. P.S. You can't copyright titles. We'll talk about that. But obviously,
they're just adding to the weight of everything.
There's fragmented literal similarities given the importance of the phrases, title, frequency, and repeated use. There's the words in that mood, repeated 25 times in the work, versus in Ha Mood, repeated 22 times in Ha Mood. Now, look, here's one thing. And for those of you who are more familiar with the song, and maybe like, the artist has done like interviews or something, for In Ha Mood, when I heard the song the first time, I thought she was saying in her mood.
Well, she is.
So for me, one of my arguments would be in that mood and in her mood are so different. Now, if they're arguing in Ha Mood is meant to say in the mood versus in that mood, I bet, all right, cool, I see what you're saying. But if you're saying in her mood, in Ha Mood, I would just argue that's actually substantially different. So anyway, that's one thing as a a white woman without any flavor or style in my interpretation. All right, moving on. So also alleging similar placements of hooks and choruses and words, same entry of the chorus and hook. So, they just do repeat over and over and over. So that is a similarity. One is going in that mood, in that mood, in that mood. And then her version is going in her mood, in her mood, in her mood, 3 times in the first segment of the hook and chorus. So same use of the word mood. Also, the BPMs are very similar. One is for 142, the other is for 141. Okay, yes. And then also similar use of 16th, 8th, and quarter notes, including significant identical 4-note rhythmic patterns, and terminating mood multiple times throughout each song. So just generally, look, here's the struggle on either side of this regarding of who did the thing. Maybe no one did the thing. Maybe they definitely did the thing.
Right.
When you're talking about stuff like general words, they had the word mood in their chorus, and they said it 3 times in a row. It just gets it can be very challenging to essentially prove to a jury. That's what we're tracking towards. If we don't settle this case
Right.
early on because someone bleeds out of attorney's fees, they're like, I can't handle it, so they just settle. If we do actually get to a jury trial, then we have to talk to a bunch of strangers and explain to them all of this and be like, look, so here we go. We hear the words over and over and over. They're kind of similar in rhythm and they're similar titles. And then I come up there and I'm like, yeah, so there's like a million songs with the word love in them. And similar 3 words of I'm in love or my heart hurts. So it can be challenging to show that there was, an intention to copyright, where it gets easier, where we're like, hey, this beat was sent to Riot, right? So her producer. Riot was all listening to it, and he got an email, and then later on, whoopsie, we're seeing that this, or like in, what is it, Pharrell?
Pharrell with Happy.
Pharrell.
Or not
Was it?
Happy, the Blurred Lines case
Blurred
with Robin
Lines.
Thicke, yeah.
Yeah, so then you have like
And,
interviews where Robin Thicke
Marvin
is like
Gaye.
all talking about, we wanted the Marvin Gaye influence with our music, and then
The Marvin Gaye feel.
Yeah,
The
so
feeling.
it all comes in,
I think it's kind of for me when I heard the songs, it's kind of tough because while I think that in a lot of cases that we covered, this is one that is these songs are very similar to me, to as compared to some of the other ones that we listen to. They're very similar in the style, in the whatever. The problem is with that genre, everybody is doing those choruses. Everybody is just taking 3 words and kind of repeating them over and over like 50 times. All the trap bass lines are kind of the same. They all have those hi-hats. They all kind of have that same like kind of I'm in my car, yeah, but you want to like they all kind of are doing the same kind of vocal
Right.
rhythms. And
Right.
so it's I think that to me they absolutely sound the same, but then they also sound like a lot of other songs that I'm hearing right now. So but I do think that these kind of sound similar, and given who D Chambers' dad is, and how much play that the song was getting and getting pushed in areas where taste was being made, I think it's very likely that they could have heard it at the very least, been like, oh, I like that in that mood. Hey, yo, let's do in her mood, and then didn't really. Actually, I think it's very possible.
Need contracts for your music business? Go to topmusicattorney.com to get downloadable templates such as NDAs, record label agreements, management agreements, featured artist agreements, and so much more. Go to topmusicattorney.com. All right, so for those reasons and others, this is an unlawful exploitation of in that mood. And they have, with actual knowledge, and guys, this is the key language for our damages, which we're going to talk about, with actual knowledge and fraudulent intent, infringed upon and continue to infringe upon plaintiff's common law and statutory copyright for the work. Oh, there we go. He did it for the first time. you defined it. So work causing serious and significant injury to plaintiffs. So then in our complaints, we define the parties. And so, basically it goes D. Chambers, the artist. He is currently residing in New York. And so it goes and it provides where each of the parties are. So it tells the court if it has jurisdiction over the parties. So we'll just kind of go through this. And then we also go, we're bringing this under common law, but we're also saying that we registered the copyrights, which is required. You have to have your copyright registrations with the US Copyright Office in order to sue. So we just want to make sure, when we go based on all of this, the court has jurisdiction. Okay. All right. So then jurisdiction venue. So we go, this is a federal question. This is a copyright infringement a claim. And then also this is called supplemental jurisdiction, which means that the state law claims that are mentioned in this complaint are covered and can be addressed by the federal court because of supplemental jurisdiction. Venue is proper because of where the parties reside. So therefore, court, you're good to go. All right, so now, factual background. Here's what happened. All right, so D
I
Chambers.
wonder if they're gonna talk about how like D Chambers is just probably just getting it from everyone that he knows because that song is so huge. They're like, bro, she took your song, bro. Took your song, bro.
Yeah, right.
Like
right.
imagine the first time he heard that. Like, you know what I mean? For just whatever. Yeah. He's like, oh my God. Like just oh my God. I don't know. When you're going through, we're just talking about, with jurisdiction, when they kind of released it, when they were, doing things, just made me think of his city and just people just around him. And it's like, wow. Or
one
just
of my,
even his dad, y'all got one.
One of the cases that I have right now through my law firm, it's a copyright infringement case and it's over a different type of content. It's not music. But when you have someone who puts something out and they did have a lot of access to your stuff and you like even personally knew them and stuff,
yeah,
I mean it gets tough. But then also when everyone's telling you like, oh my gosh, they definitely did this, go sue them.
Yeah.
All right, anyway, so factual background. D Chambers, Brooklyn native, been doing music for a long time. Cass wrote, performed, recorded In That Mood prior to August 8th, 2021, when he first used the song in an Instagram post. The work was then temporarily released as a single on all major digital platforms for a 2-week period. And that was from January 28th, 2022 until February 11th, 2022. And this was connection with a licensing opportunity that never actually ran. Thereafter, on July 7th, 2022, the work was released and became permanently accessible to defendants and the public on YouTube. Okay, so this is where we care. When did the public have access to this? So went on YouTube for a little bit. Since then, D Chambers, the artist, and others have repeatedly marketed, made available, or otherwise used In That Mood in whole or in part on social media, online, and elsewhere. So now we're getting into public performances. So between August of 21 and December of 22, for its 16 months prior to the publication of In Ha Mood, the artist D Chambers publicly performed his song no less than 36 times. Well, good for him. He's doing shows. Mostly at venues within the 5 boroughs of New York City, where Ice Spice, Riot, and others closely associated primarily reside. So, that's interesting. He's saying, not only was the music obviously just published, it was online, but he's like, I was literally performing this song in places where they went and close to where they lived. All right, so then the public performance of In That Mood prior to January 23 included all of these performances. All right, so a long list.
Yeah, I mean, he was out. They were out.
Yeah, so upon information belief, Ice Spice, Riot, and other members of their creative teams were present for certain public performances of In That Mood during the relevant time period. Okay, so, more online. This is the
stuff,
hot. Yeah, so Hot 97. All of this does go. I mean, sometimes we have claimants who are just like, it was published online and they saw it and heard it and they can't actually point to anything. So I think that this definitely bolsters his claim that
the radio play is huge. Like that is a taste making station for hip hop. That is huge. That's where they, people are listening to see what's next and what's hot. So
all right, so without limitation, there was an Instagram video posted by Riot, the producer, on December 31, 2021. It appears that Riot was listening to an Ice Spice song on Hot 97 on December 15, 2021. And then they give the actual link, and a separate Instagram video posted by D Chambers on November 15th, 2021 demonstrates that In That Mood was played on Hot 97 on the same date starting at 11:30, making it a virtual certainty that Riot actually heard In That Mood more than a year before In Ha Mood was first created and published. Very interesting.
Subconsciously
mean,
got in there.
I mean, you can't prove that he was in the car listening to the station, but I hear you.
Well, if he was
Right.
in the is that what it said? Or did it say he was in the he was already there for something else?
Well, no, didn't he say so he posted that what this was, so that In the
Mm.
Mood was played on the same
Oh,
date,
okay.
starting at
No,
making
it said
it
he was listening to them on Hot 97 around the same time. Like, when he was posting, he went back and got the receipts of what he was doing, and he found that he was listening to it in his car around the same time that his song was played. He was listening to a different Ice Spice song the same time that his song was played.
All right. So defendant's access by virtue of the Instagram post described above, establishing that
Yeah.
Riot was listening to Hot 97 on November 15, 2021, less than 2 minutes before
Yep.
In That Mood aired on the same station. It appears more likely than not that Riot actually heard and knew about In That Mood prior to the creation and publication of In Ha Mood. By virtue of the publication, live performances and radio airplay of In That Mood, as described above, the work was also widely disseminated long before the creation and publication of In Ha Mood. By virtue of the publication, live performances, and radio airplay of In That Mood, as described above, defendants had access to the work prior to the creation of In Ha Mood. Furthermore, plaintiffs are well known in the rap and hip hop community. So this kind of goes to your point, and share a substantial number of undeniable connections, and so going to the influence kind of thing. For example, without limitation, Riot follows DJ Drewski on Instagram, and as evidenced by the Instagram videos described, he has listened. I think
Listen to his radio show
yeah.
on during the time. So that's his timeline that he was just trying to say. The 2
Yeah.
minutes.
Okay, so what do we think? Are we convinced at this point? Based on all the facts and circumstances described, is it probable? Is it reasonable that the defendants actually heard In That Mood?
I think it's absolutely possible. I think that it probably did happen. Now, whether or not he was like, oh, let me run that back so I can steal it and whatever. No. Did I think maybe he might have gotten inspired by something and maybe forgot where the inspiration kind of came from? Possible. But I think that, given his connections, to the hip hop community, especially through his dad, I think that it's and all the radio play. I think it's absolutely possible and probable that that guy heard his song. It's in a very different way than some of the other cases that we had where, oh, I've been online for, whatever. This is got play.
If you're a hustler like me working on your career every day, go to topmusicattorney.com to apply to work directly with me. Let's get your music business to 6 figures and beyond. So as far as the claims, so for copyright infringement, so under common law, the beautiful thing about US copyright law is that as soon as you make your creative thing, right, you put your creative idea into a tangible medium, such as a song, you have copyright already. Okay, so the Copyright Act gives you that protection. But what happens is that if you don't actually get the copyright registration with the government, all you have is common law. And so when we get to the point where we're actually suing someone, okay, it makes the world of difference because it depends on whether that infringement made any money. If it
Right.
didn't make any money, that means your actual damages of like what you can go and collect and disgorgement, right? To get
Lawyer fees.
disgorgement. Well, just get into that. So it might be like $10,000, let's say, of what they actually made stealing your idea and selling their song. Now, in this case, we know that the song made a lot of money, which is great potentially for the artist. But if you file your copyright by the time you've actually released the song, then you're likely within the proper timing to seek what are called statutory damages, which means you can get your attorney's fees, which means you can get up to $150,000 for willful infringement per infringement. So this is how we get into like the millions of dollars, which PS in one of my copyright infringement lawsuits right now, we are seeking millions of dollars because of how many times the copyright was infringed. So anyway, that's why you see it this way. And so you see like, here's the claim for common law copyright infringement. Okay, so there was access, they infringed, they did all the things. And then the next one will be, so under 17 USC, section 101 and on, this is the copyright infringement under, statutory copyright. And so we asked for statutory damages.
Yeah.
Now, from what I was reading, he didn't actually get his copyright registration until he was ready to actually file this. So he's
Oh,
probably only gonna get actual damages if he is successful. But like I was saying, it's not like this song has not made
but
money.
he's got no for sure. And you know, the crazy thing is that, you know, just the receipts that the internet holds, that people just have access when they're going. Like, I feel like they put together, you know, quite the case, uh, you know, for some kind of, you know, satisfaction that they will receive. But I it's crazy. And I mean, you know, she's a big thing. She has 4 Grammy nominations. That I think the
Yeah.
Grammys are coming up. She just got announced, you know, she's going to be doing headlining Coachella, or doing, you know, or being one of the co-headliners for Coachella. Um, so I mean, like there's money there for sure.
Yeah. Well, let me wrap this up for you guys. If you've been hanging on, you're learning so much and you're a rock star. So the third cause of action, this is vicarious liability. So for copyright infringement, this is why the record label was sued as well. So they go the reproduction, distribution, and creation of derivative works from In That Mood, which is what they're, you know, alleging is In Ha Mood. In Ha Mood is a derivative work. So they're going, because you as the label, you distributed this thing without our authorization, we're also suing you, which you can do under the law. Okay, so this is the one related specifically to the label, and it goes, accordingly, defendants are liable to plaintiffs for vicarious copyright infringement in the amount to be determined at trial, but in no event less than $1 million. Vicarious liability of the record label, declaratory action. Dear court, we want you to declare that plaintiffs are entitled, right? So the artist is entitled to no less than 50% of everything that has been earned from In Ha Mood. And then we're asking for accounting. So the fifth cause of action is a demand for accounting. We want to know all the numbers so that we can come up with a proper amount for our damages. And lastly, under the state law claim, we're seeking unjust enrichment. So basically saying, based on the facts herein, defendants have been unjustly enriched at the expense of plaintiffs. So this is the catch-all that we do in complaints. And we go, you know, for anything that we aren't successful on, you know, dear court, you know, defendants didn't get a license, didn't get permission, they were unjustly enriched, they made a lot of money from us. And so if we don't get all the monies from our copyright claim, we want it just by the law, right?
Right.
And the claim of unjust enrichment.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, team. Nice work. You hopefully just learned a lot about, you know, and for those of you who are asking about suing for your song, you know, that's kind of what that is what a copyright infringement lawsuit looks like.
So what do you think, you know, as far as the label's responsibility in all of this? You know, she's obviously on a major label. She's obviously, you know, though they have legal departments. But it seems like we see a lot of these cases of things that, like, I wonder if when they're dealing with, you know, what did they just ask them? Hey, so did you guys sample anything? Hey, did you guys get inspired by anything? And then they just leave it at that? Or do they have like independent fact checkers at the label that will go and just whatever? Or they make them uh, uh, getting a lie detector test, the producer and you know, and the artist, and they hook them up to a lie detector and go, did you guys steal anything? So we know, so we're not getting sued. Because it just seems like they're submitting stuff, you know, a lot of these artists, not necessarily just this case, but I'm just saying a lot of these cases that we cover, they're slipping through the cracks, and some of these things are pretty obvious that they're, you know.
Yeah, so
doing it.
for a lot of these deals, at least from the record label standpoint, what they do is in the agreement with the artist, they go, you are promising that any music you give to us is free of samples or any claims by anyone. And so if we do get a claim against you, we're going to withhold all the money that we get from you to pay for
Yeah.
those legal fees. So that's the first thing that they do. Now, you know, if you're an artist that's not making a lot of money, that doesn't really protect the label so much, but that's one thing that they build into the contract, which sometimes, you know, I get annoyed about because I'm like, as the artist, just because you get a claim, it doesn't mean it has to be a lawsuit. Maybe someone sends you an email. They're like, I think that this person, you know, and now you're withholding all of that artist's money. So anyway, that's how they
Is
typically
it
do it.
is there something in there so if for like that they can go, well, you know, you can be charged for this later? Like, is there just something that they put them on the hook if it's found? Because, you know, sometimes maybe they really didn't know, you know what I mean? Like, they just, like, dude, I'm not, and again, even in my case with this, I'm not saying that dude willfully did it. I'm saying he heard something, you know, he might have, you know, done a little thing and didn't realize it. But I'm just
Yeah, personal liability in a contract with a record label would be extremely uncommon. And so it's more like record label better just have insurance to pay for this. So
And
look,
make sure you have
guys,
an LLC.
regardless of where you stand, I want to know your thoughts. Drop a comment down below and let us know, from everything we went through,
Sure.
whose side are you on? Who are you kind of leaning towards at this point? Obviously, as always, we'll continue to track the case. So make sure that you subscribe so that you can watch all the follow-ups that we do. We're here to help you on all things music business and entertainment, and we'll see you on the next one.